because we all know what time it is. It's time for everybody's promotional tool to get in the building. You people out there may call it the power rankings, but me, I call it folks, I have to tell you, crimes will be committed, and we'll get into that later. But EJ Christian, I am actively covering my screen. Go right ahead.
Okay, so here we go. For the podcast audience that is not on the YouTube channel, first off, subscribe. EJ, I'm talking.
Oh,
EJ.
I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I thought he said it. I'm sorry.
I hear the music. That's why.
But yeah, for those, I need to. My bad. I actually cut the 5 off the graphic. That's an oops on my end. But it is. This is the tool time. EJ's power rankings. We go top 10. We go bottom 5. Stare at the right side of your screen only for right now. EJ, let's hear your bottom 5.
This is also the season debut of Tool Time.
Correct.
For record. 20-32. Here we go. 28, the Commanders. 29, the Broncos. 30th, Titans. 31, the Giants. 38, the Panthers. Because they should be 32. That's too high for them. Fellas, bottom 5. Like it or not like it?
Okay. As the person who's allegedly EJ's biggest critic on this panel, I like his bottom 5.
Oh my God! What a shock!
Take it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything super duper wrong here. I mean, you at least got the bottom 2 100% correct.
I will say this, not to spoil too much, but in the event the entire panel would do a bottom 5, everybody has the same 31 and 32.
Yes, which is the correct answer. Which is the correct answer. I know for me, I also have the Titans at 30. I have the Broncos at 29. I have the Rams at 28.
Sir, we don't need to spoil things. Let's wait till we do the top 10 before we start talking about who has what.
Sorry.
With all due respect, sir.
Sorry.
Easy Christian, if you're inclined to try to sell us on your top 10, go right ahead.
Here we go. Top 10. And I'm sure all the arguments will start here. Number 10, the Vikings. Number 9, the Chargers. Or Chargers for Jim. Number 8, the Eagles. Number 7, the Saints. 6, Lions. 5, Buccaneers. 4, Texans. 3, Niners. 2, Bills Mafia. And number 1, of course, Patty Mahomes and those damn Chiefs.
Now, this is the part where you just had to go about effing up the entire rotation.
Here we go. When I get it wrong,
Bills are not 2. What are we doing?
Okay, cool. Who's my number 2 then?
Not the Bills. I have the Texans there still, playing actual teams with potential talent in question. The Bills played the Cardinals. I'm not impressed. What are we doing? Okay. Then they played the Dolphins, who didn't finish the game with Tua Tagovailoa, who represents, what is it, 200 and something of their $387 million in offensive.
They were dominating the Dolphins before he got hurt. What are we talking about?
That's not acceptable.
They're up 31-10 before he got hurt. What are we talking about?
Well, you're still wrong. By the way, some of us on this panel had the Bills winning that game anyway in August, but nobody wants to talk about
Please make it right.
The only thing that's worse than the Bills at 2 is the Niners at 3. What in the entire hell? Listen, I know you take edibles, so I know the answer to what are you smoking is nothing, but stop with the edibles when you do this ish.
Too high, huh?
So, bro, Snoop Dogg isn't this high. What are we doing?
That's good.
Where have you been for the last 4 years?
Who do you trust?
That's why he has them at 3.
Jim gets it. Thank you, Jim.
Apparently he trusts Brandon.
He's wrong. He's wrong, but that's why he did it.
I appreciate
you're wrong. Just be wrong and get used to it.
President Bartlett.
Your use of President Bartlett and trying to absolve yourself from this, but considering all the injuries the Niners have, that alone should keep them out of the top 5.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, he is wrong, but I know why he has them there.
And why is
because
that?
Because he's looking at week 18, not week 2.
Well, then he's doing a bad job of doing this again. I mean, I'll leave it at that. The Vikings at 10.
This guy gets it.
The Vikings at 10, also highly questionable. I will say this in your defense, without spoiling too much. Where you place the Saints is more acceptable than a lot of people. on this panel?
I
Not
gotta
just
see
be
I
Burns,
gotta see
More on
more.
that
That's it.
later.
That could change this weekend. Like I said, if they win again this weekend, that could, you know what I'm saying, how they win.
This is what drives me nuts. This is how you're like the band System of a Down. You'll
Wake
have moments in your songs that are absolutely heartwarming and moving and just badass. And then you'll throw something in there that completely ruins the entire thing. So, yeah, I just compared your power rankings to System of a Down. Take that, bass player. Anyways, let's go ahead and comments. Joe's shocker, same season, new results, and Devin, where the hell are the Falcons?
That's funny,
Right
Devin.
where they belong, not on this list. Thank you. Moving
By the
on.
way, Kyle, for you,
I can't see it.
System of a Down T-shirt.
That tracks.
Why do you carry that in your security van? Like that's such.
I
like,
got
feel
to
like you should
change.
have,
I'm
like-
working. I got to work and change. Come on,
I
bro.
feel like you should have like food and drink, but like
Yeah, I have a straw too with it. Look at that.
random band T-shirt seems
When
like
he
a
goes
old-
undercover as a degenerate, you know, that he wears that shirt. But then again, would he really need a disguise to be a degenerate is another question. At any rate, that being said, without alleviating other members of the panel, here are the others on the list.
Oh God, here we go. This trash here, Jim.
Out the gate, EJ Christian, of course, talking trash. Jim, I'll go to you first. The Bills,
yes, I had Panthers 32, Giants 31, Titans 30, Broncos 29. I had the Rams at 28.
The Vikings at 6. What the
they,
hell?
So,
is wrong with you,
hang
Jim?
on. First of all, read just the bottom half of EJ Christian.
Sorry.
Second, I like why you put the Rams here is because of all the injuries, I assume.
Right, I'm not mad at the 5. I'm not mad at the 5.
So I like you thinking outside the box and doing it correctly. Continue, Jim.
Yeah, because they lost bad and they are in a lot of trouble. All right. Here are my top 10. 10 Eagles, 9 Chargers, 8 Lions, 7 Niners, 6 Vikings, 5 Bucks, 4 Texans, 3 Saints, 2 Bills, and 1 are the Chiefs.
Like, so 1 and 2.
So here's the thing. The way that I've built mine and my early season power rankings are always dramatically different than EJ because I know how to build them. I
boring.
build mine based on what I have seen for the first 2 weeks of the season. So the Saints, the reason I have them as high as I do, as same reason as I have the Vikings where I do, is because after 2 weeks, like the Saints have been one of the best looking teams this season. The Viking, like I think the 49ers are appropriate where they are. Now the Vikings just beat them. I can't not put the Viking, let's see college football rankings at the end of last season. You can't put Alabama above Texas and you can't put Georgia above Alabama. That's how math works. That's why the Vikings are above the Niners right now. That will change. The Vikings are not going to remain the number 6 team in the National Football League. I am sure of that. But for this week, I think they are there.
So what's adorable? It's very fitting that a Notre Dame fan makes this particular lineup because you're giving the Saints extra credit for beating up on the Panthers as if low-level teams matter. And your team losing to NIU, getting bailed out and still being in the top 25 is an adorable thing in itself. That's my point. The Saints should not be 3 on the strength of pummeling the Panthers.
Right.
Okay?
Here's the thing. If we are going to do a ranking segment this early in the season, which I mean, really, there shouldn't be rankings in college or power rankings in the NFL until October.
Well, hey,
But they
it's-
are, so
this is
whatever.
your
I mean,
segment, not mine, Jim. Let me be clear about that.
Well, we like to make EJ think he's
we're
important.
creating content here, buddy.
But like, if we're going to do it, I'm going to base it on what I've seen, right? So this is what I've seen. Whether they've beat one bad team in terms of the Saints,
The worst team.
well, right, they beat the worst team, but then they also beat a team that everybody on this show, including those that aren't on tonight, have as a playoff team.
And where are they in the power rankings right now, Jim?
They're not there.
Okay, so you have a non-ranked team and the worst team in the league propelling somebody to number 3. That's what I see.
Okay.
And by
So-
your logic, too, Jim,
No. Let him defend that.
Okay, go ahead.
So the Cowboys would have been there last week, probably in the 8 to 10 range, maybe 7. The Saints would have been probably in the middle ground between 12 and 18. So if a number 18 ranked team, if we're going to go by like a college model, if a number 18 ranked team clobbers the number 7 team, then yeah, they're going to end up in the top 10. Now, I didn't make a ranking last week because we didn't do this segment last week.
What?
So I have to base it on what I've seen in the 2 weeks.
So, Jim, this is what makes me angry about you. For one, you happen to be a decent human, and then you come up with good facts to completely ruin my narrative, and it pisses me off.
That's why I'm the host here.
But this is the logic I have a problem with Jim here. If he's using his whole safe 2-week sample, when I've seen 2 weeks, the Saints number 1 then by your argument.
No, that's not what he said.
They've been the most dominant team so far through 2 weeks.
That's not what he
I mean,
said.
no, damn well not number 1.
Because
the Kansas City Chiefs also defeated the team that most people took to win the AFC North and Baltimore, and the team that everybody has in the playoffs in Cincinnati. I mean, let's look at the strength.
I agree with you, Mike.
it's
I
not
agree with you.
playoffs. No, hold on. Let me dunk on EJ with his own logic. Byrne, you're making a good point. Let me carry it home. A Ravens team that EJ Christian on the Earnestly Speaking podcast during the Stream of the Game report made the mistake of showing me his power rankings, had the Ravens 3rd. The Chiefs not only knocked the Ravens out of that, but then also stood up against the Bengals team, to your point, Byrne, who he had, no, sorry, he doesn't have, you have in the Super Bowl, and he has in the playoffs.
No. So let's carry the dunk on one more level here. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Baltimore Ravens, who Ernest projected to win the Super Bowl in the preseason rankings, who Jim predicted to be in the Super Bowl, who Kyle predicted to win the Super Bowl.
Why am I getting strays?
No. What I'm saying is you have to look at the strength of most of the panel has them in the playoffs. 3 of you have them at least in the Super Bowl. And we're sitting here comparing beating the Baltimore Ravens to blowing the doors off of the worst team in probably NFL history.
Yeah.
No,
So
we all have Chiefs. We all have Chiefs number 1. Other than
right. So here's the deal.
More on that later, EJ.
Yeah.
When it comes down to, if I'm looking in this instance, Chiefs, Bills, Saints are my top 3. If the Saints played the Chiefs this weekend, I'd pick the Chiefs. If the Bills played the Saints this weekend, I'd pick the Bills. That's why the Saints aren't higher.
But if the Texans played the Saints, who would you pick?
I'd probably pick the Saints right now.
Then you're on drugs. Next question.
My biggest problem with this list is really the Vikings as high as they are. That's it. That's my biggest issue.
Say it again. Sorry.
My biggest issue with Jim's list is really the Vikings where they're at. Way too high.
I don't love it, but again, like I said, him being a decent human being and him making a credible argument prevents me from continuing to
You
extend
could
my
be a
narrative.
decent human being and still be make shit lists.
Well, first off, they're 2-0.
148. Thank you, EJ.
Damn it!
First off, they're 2-0.
Sorry, Kyle.
I understand that they beat the Giants, a terrible Giants team, but that game was over about 2 minutes in. And then they beat a 49ers team that we have as one of the best teams in the NFL. Yes, I understand that. I understand there's injuries on the Niners side. I understand that the Niners turn the ball over, this and that. However, I can't not look at the fact that they beat them. And when I am going off of a 2-week sample to build my power rankings, I have to use the fact that
You made one mistake there, Jim.
No, hold on.
The Giants season was over. First play was what? Delay a game.
Oh, that's adorable. You're a whiny Giants fan. Moving on.
No, he's not. He's a Cowboys fan, but that's
No,
fine.
I'm a Giants fan.
Sorry,
Allegedly.
Patriots fan. Allegedly. Stop showing off what you've stolen from garage sales to the cops on this show, you idiot. We don't want you to go to jail and lose your security, man.
I'll show my shit.
Honestly, here's the thing, and here's the part that I think Jim needs to face the reality on. You, as a Cowboys fan, are now expressing how much you respect the 49ers, and that's something you have to go to sleep with tonight. Anyways,
I mean, where did I have them going in the playoffs? Did I have them second round? No, maybe. I think I had them losing in the second round.
yes, because you're a hater. Next question. Mikey Burns, bottom 5. Panthers- Go
I
ahead.
as well have the Panthers, the Giants. I flipped the Broncos and the Titans, but same bottom 4 in a different order. My 28th, the Indianapolis Colts.
So here's the thing.
Interesting.
If Jim had the soundbite on his computer for Seth Meyers, it would say the following. The problem with haters is they're going to hate. You're really trying to tell me that they took your number 2 team to within 2 points, and now they're the, 5th worst team in the league? Not by.
They also lost to Malik Willis, who couldn't complete a pass in Tennessee, who they've played twice.
So is that a lack of respect on the Packers on your part, or is that truly a failing in the Colts?
I mean, Anthony Richardson has also thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. They're not running the ball all that great right now. They're not moving the ball. 16-10 against a depleted Packers team. They can't get off of the field. Their defense was on the field for over 40 minutes. Get a stop.
Real quick, let me ask you this question. You say depleted team. They're down their quarterback and Jordan Love, and that's a big deal. I'm not taking away from that. Aaron Jones is still running prolifically as a guy who cheers
Aaron
for
Jones,
a team.
For the
Aaron Jones
Vikings.
from Minnesota.
Or excuse me. Not
With
Aaron.
Josh Jacobs, buddy.
Josh Jacobs.
Thank you. Sorry. Have it. The punchline is, as a guy who cheers for a team whose backup quarterback propelled a talented skill group to damn near the playoffs last year, please tell me how the Packers this season, right now, this instant, are different from your Bengals at that point.
I know who my number 1 and number 2 wide receivers are.
So they had better skill players, is what you're saying.
Correct. And as bad as my offensive line was at points, I knew the 5 guys that were going to be out there. I mean, they're rotating pieces in and out due to injuries. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is running the ball. Absolutely. Fantastic. I'll give the devil his due there. 235 rushing yards on 48 carries. But I don't think he's found the end zone yet as a member of the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I let's not go too far with that. I mean, who finds the end zone or not isn't the issue. It's you're worried about how much the team scores, right?
Yes, and I also watched them allow Malik Willis to throw for 122 yards in a game where the Packers had the ball for 40-plus minutes. This isn't good.
122 yards is a lot to you.
The fact that they couldn't get off the field and the quarterback only had 122 yards is more my concern here.
It seems more the previous than the latter. So I will give you this much credit. You may not be a good person. I'm joking. But you, in fact, are bringing a good argument to something that tears up my narrative, and I'm pissed. 10, Mike.
Number 10, I have the Seattle Seahawks. At number 9, I have Great Clock Management by Nick Sirianni. 8th, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. 7, Man Campbell's Lions. 6, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 5, the New Orleans Saints. 4, the San Francisco 49ers. 3, the Buffalo Bills. 2, the Houston Texans. And I have to give the devil his due. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes II. And
First of all, Homer. Second, my only beef with your top 10 is twofold. I say only beef, but I say twofold. The Seahawks are in a weird bubble where I don't know what to make of them yet, so I'm not going to criticize.
Yeah.
The Bills are still a little high, don't you think? As are the Niners?
So here's my thought process. I took the teams that were right below them. Saints, Bucks, Lions. We'll find out more about the New Orleans Saints over the next couple weeks. We'll find out more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the next couple weeks.
It
and
is
I have to
ranking at week 2 in your defense.
and I have to penalize the Lions for losing the game to Tampa Bay, which is why Tampa's ahead of them. At this point, I if I'm picking games, even with a depleted roster, I like San Francisco's defense to give both the Saints and Buccaneers fits that they haven't ran into yet. And I think that's where I think even with a backup running back, one of their healthy wide receivers, George Kittle, I think there's still enough weapons that the 49ers would have today if they played on a neutral site or even at home or on the road. I think that they would give both New Orleans and Tampa Bay a run for their money. As for Buffalo at 3, again, the only thing that I have here, I don't love anybody underneath them enough to move Buffalo down. I'm kind of stuck in a spot where no, them being down most of the game to Arizona and clawing their way back in after Arizona wasn't able to make the second half adjustment. I think that should have been penalized. I think it was last week. The victory over Miami is cute, but like you mentioned, they didn't play the back half of that game against Tua Tagovailoa. It was against Skylar Thompson. At the end of the day,
Not great, Bob.
no. And the thing is the Buffalo Bills, the talk that we've had on this show has always been, well, okay, here's the deal. You know, if they get past Miami, it's Jacksonville, and then it's Baltimore and Houston and the Jets. So I think the real core of what we're going to find out from the Buffalo Bills is weeks 4, 5, and 6. The games at Buffalo, at Houston, and again at the Jets. All three of those games on the road. You're going to find out what you're getting from this team. So I think that the Bills right now, 2-0, they've escaped. Will they escape moving forward is where I'm like, okay, let's see.
Well, that's the thing. You made all the arguments of why I'm asking why they're at 3. You've given me nothing to keep them.
Because at the end of the day, they are 2-0. They've found a way to escape with wins. Something that the Saints, I'm not going to say that they should be ahead of the Bills. Beating the Carolina Panthers is like beating a random 11U Pee-wee team at this point. We're benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. Tampa Bay maybe is the only other team that I would consider putting ahead of, but I don't think I can put them ahead of Buffalo because I don't.
They did beat Jim's Lions.
Correct, absolutely. And there was a lot of people that before the season started thought that the Dolphins were going to be good. I mean,
and they might be still if it weren't for
everybody except for yours truly took them to win the East. I don't know. I'm just saying I think that the Buffalo Bills winning 31-10 in a game where it was ugly, but James Cook ran very well. Josh Allen didn't have to do too much.
So wait, I think you hit the crux of your argument. You're arguing that the Bills have changed their identity and they're not a Josh Allen team. They're a James Cook team, and that's what you're confident in.
I'm confident.
They're a balanced offense team.
I'm confident in them running the ball effectively for the first time in a long time. Whether it's Josh Allen running the football, whether it's Cook running the football, whether it's them using gadget plays. I think on the offensive side of the ball, they're not going to be a team that throws it 52 times a year, or 52 times a week.
You know, the problem is, though, your best argument was in Fred Warner request, and what am I supposed to do? Say no?
I don't hate Mike's list, though. I mean, it's not better than mine, obviously, but
it's way better than yours. You need to shut your ass. However, we're going to get to now what I can make a strong argument for. God, your evil twin is completely mind effing me here because there's some stuff here I absolutely love, and there's also stuff here I absolutely hate. So, on the evil twin's behalf, his bottom 5 in lockstep with you boys: 32, 31, Panthers and Giants. He has the Broncos at 30, the Titans,
Bears,
and he has the Bears at 28.
EJ, you really have to learn to stop eating the punchline.
Yeah,
you really have to.
The Bears are clearly the worst pick for a bottom 5 team amongst the group. I would love for him to be here to defend himself. Unfortunately, he's not because he's being a responsible father, allegedly. Can anybody give me something there? Hearing them?
Kale's been pretty meh through 2 weeks, but the defense has been really good.
Yeah.
So I can come with that.
I mean, honestly, I have more reasons to tear it apart. I mean, the offense hasn't looked good the first 2 weeks, but the defense and the special teams found a way to beat the Titans, and they were only down by one score.
No. The Titans handed that game, let's be honest.
Sure. But to only lose to the
Texans, the number
4, 2, and 1 in his own power ranking, Houston Texans, to only lose to them by one score. Kind of wild.
Thank you for that addition, Jim. My bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead, EJ.
I mean, here's the thing, like about the Bears. What do they call when you do the same thing over and over and think it's going to change?
The
That would
definition of insanity.
Insanity. They've still done nothing to protect the investment under center. Like, I just imagine Justin Fields like watching that game, going, "Told you, buddy."
I like that counter pitch. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter. You can bring in DeAndre Swift. You can have Cole Kmet. You can bring in DJ Moore. You can draft Caleb Williams. But if you don't put 5 competent and capable guys on that offensive line, it's going to be a problem. It just is, and that's the reality of the Chicago Bears right now. They're not, they're not bottom 5 worthy. They've been, despite how bad the offensive line has been. They've been surprising at points.
See, but Jim, this is my whole thing. You're making me completely self-conscious now because you, again, being such a decent human being, that you are literally defending your brother, who was referred to on the show as the evil effing twin. Now you made 28 make sense, and I hate you for it. Damn you to the bowels of the bloodiest hells.
Like, I get it, but I also don't. It's really an odd thing. Spoiler, you guys already spoiled the top. My problem with where he has the Bears is where he has the Texans.
Okay, and then we'll get into it. At number 10, he has the Vikings. Number 9, the best placement of the 49ers amongst this group, by the way, is the 49ers at 9, the Eagles at 8. 7 is the Lions, the Chargers at 6, which is interesting. I don't hate it.
This household loves it, by the way.
Homer. I love the fact that you don't even need it because it's voice act. Okay, you can add that. That's cool. 5 is Saints. Again, all you humpy bumpies just slobbering all over the knob of the Saints blows my mind. At least he has the Bucks at 4 ahead of him. The Bills at 3. God, why? And then Chiefs at 2. Texans at 1. Talk about God, why? Holy snap! What are we doing?
Yeah. So my either the Bears are wrong or the Texans are wrong, right? Because
are involved.
Because the or both. Because they had a close win against the Colts, and then an even closer win against the Bears in a game that the number 1 team didn't score 20 points. So it's either an indictment of the number 1 team or it's a compliment to the team at 28. So that's I think my biggest issue with Sean's list is Texans have to come down or the Bears have to come out of the bottom 5.
Well, I mean, of course, if you believe what EJ says about my ego, I just hate that you made a really great argument that I would have made better than I might have made it. So you can just, osculate upon my entire gluteus maximus. That's me telling you to get You're welcome. Well played, Jim. Anybody else got anything to say about the Evil Twins top 10?
Crazy. Trash.
I mean, analysis.
I mean,
Thanks
Texas
for that.
Texas at 1. I mean, come on, stop. I mean, KC just beat 2. Granted, I know they're both 0-2, but Bengals and Ravens will be there at the end. Chiefs are number 1.
Both games that the Chiefs probably should have lost,
but they didn't lose. And
and
here's the bottom line.
But the Texans didn't lose either.
But here's the bottom line, though. That reflects more on they're the one team that gets a pass because they're the Chiefs.
Why? Why do they get a pass?
Because they're champs. They're back-to-back champs.
Who cares? Who cares?
Well, I mean, reflects on your rank, I get it, but
that's the correct answer.
Correct.
Thank you. At least that's the correct answer.
They also do it also in the biggest stage. So
God, I can't wait for this thing to fall apart so I can just look at you and go, are you just gonna just trust them as they're 2 and 5?
I have a great sample right now. I have a great sample right now.
He'll keep them at number 3 all year.
Excuse me, Jim,
2 years ago when they had no business in the top 5.
Excuse me, Jim, may I have a hubba, please?
Who do you trust? Hubba, hubba, hubba. Money, money, money. Who do you trust?
Thank you, sir.
The middle is not terrible.
I trust the Houston Texans.
They're a very good team.
Apparently, so does Sean. But damn,
he does.
Number 1 though. Number 1.
That's a
bit. It's. I don't think it's as wild as you're making it out to be.
I mean, they're clearly a top 5 team in the league, obviously. I mean,
not to sound like Joel Klatt, but at some point, the play on the field has to matter. And while they beat the Ravens by a toe and
rightly so.
Thank you, sir. Well done, Jim. Not only did they beat the Ravens by a toe and a wrist that nobody wants to talk about based on that halftime bat down the Chiefs defense had, let's also give a little credit to the fact that they were able to play sustained football longer than the Bengals and keep their resolve regardless of whatever happened to Jamar Chase. No one says Jamar Chase is wrong. He still lost his cool. That's the point.
In reality, the Chiefs are going to get every team's best shot every week because they're the Chiefs.
That's actually a relatively good point, EJ. So
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't
151 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Gets
Pat Mahomes
gets bailed out by 2 penalty calls.
Sir, you don't get the opportunity to boast your Bengals defense and tell us how great they are.
I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you that if you're telling me that you trust them, how do you trust that Patrick Mahomes is going to beat a team throwing for 151 yards?
And I'm answering that question. You can't boast your defense and then have them that be the second good defense they played and then attack their stats. They played 2 good defenses and still won the football games.
I get it. It's frustrating. I totally get it.
Houston won the football games.
Yes, but
they didn't get handed the football game.
Your 28th team in the league with a bad defense is one of those teams, and they only beat them by 2.
And the
Chiefs
won by a combined 5 points in 2 games. I mean, we're just gonna keep doing the song and dance. I get it. You believe in Patrick Mahomes. That's fine and dandy.
No, it's not that I believe in Patrick Mahomes. I'm giving more respect to your team and the Ravens than I will the Bears
and the Colts.
Right. That's where I'm at. It's a schedule argument, buddy.
Bears.
Well played, Jim.
I mean, you do agree with it. To be fair, Mike. So
I also agree that when they lose to Atlanta, when he throws for 155 yards this week against that team, then if he's in the top 3, then we just know that it's just never going to change.
Well, okay, listen, and we'll address that when it happens, buddy. One thing at a time, home slice. Okay,
buddy. Okay, this team that is so trusted is only a 3.5 point favorite on the road against primetime Kirk Cousins.
Because they're the Chiefs.
So what I hear you saying is that Las Vegas, the same Las Vegas that thought Texas A&M should be a favorite over Notre Dame, is what you're trusting.
No, I'm saying that there's something in the water that says that Vegas believes that this Patrick Mahomes team is not as good as previous Patrick Mahomes led teams.
Oh, they're just forgetting that the Chiefs are a defensive team, as I've tried to remind America since last year this time, right? Listen, Mike, I'm not here to say your argument is bad per se. I'm just trying to express it. This is a good back and forth and makes for quality content. And you know what, Bern? I will say this for you. If what you're forecasting and what Vegas is forecasting happens, I'm looking forward to your top 10. That being said, gentlemen, with some of the silliness I've seen here, somebody's been accused of making the biggest crime. With that being said, boy, I wish I'd remember to turn the volume up on that. With that being said, let's explore our candidates for biggest crime amongst these here. Of course, first off, thank you, Jim. What the hell? That was awesome. The Chiefs not at 1, according to the evil twin. All of you humpy bumpies for having the Bills go lower than 3. The Niners, anybody who had them above 5 is just absolutely nuts to me. I won't talk about how people did stuff with the Saints, but that was crazy. And then how many people, 3 people guilty of this crime. The Vikings at the top 10. Somebody as high as 6. What are we? No.
He's high.
Panel, who on earth committed the biggest crime? Jim, let me start with you. Or do you have something different from what I listed?
What's that?
I say, who committed the biggest crime, or do you have something different from what I listed here? These pieces.
No, I think Texans at 1 is the biggest.
You sat there and made that great argument, and now you're knocking him on his entire.
Well, no, I'm trying to play Sean's reasoning, but also like criticize it because he is not here to defend himself.
We're honestly, I mean that.
Right, I put it this way. I actually like the Bears in the bottom 5 more than I like the Texans at 1, because I like right now. I don't think the wait, what the Bears are like the Cowboys with Romo under center.
That's so uncalled for, Joe. You're just being mean.
I don't really.
Wow.
I mean,
That's a take.
yeah, you're talking about the best quarterback in the history of the Cowboys franchise. There, I'm very lost.
It's an argument. It's definitely an argument.
I don't think it is an argument. I think it is fact.
EJ,
But-
I don't know, but listen, I know you're a Cowboys fan, but it's Jim's term right now, okay?
Yeah, I just when looking at, and here's the thing, I have the Texans at 4, but if I'm looking at like Mike was just making the argument like Texans Chiefs, like he's saying like I don't like if you want to make the argument for Texans at 2, I'm fine with that. But if I'm looking at the competition of the two right now, 2 weeks in, like I'm gonna give the edge to the Chiefs. I just where I had the Texans versus where Sean had the Texans, those are 3 big spots. I think that's the biggest crime.
Fair enough. Mikey Byrne, biggest crime.
I'm gonna say that it is. I'm actually gonna go against Jim. I'm gonna say it's the Bears in the bottom 5. Because if you're gonna talk about how great the Houston Texans are, to keep them to only 19 points, to keep them having an opportunity to win that game, that defense has played out of its mind the first 2 weeks of the regular season. There's always that adjustment of a rookie quarterback catching up to the speed of the National Football League. So if this defense is able to keep them in games against top 5 teams in all of our power rankings, I have to say that the Bears being in the bottom 5 is just a head scratcher. There are so many other teams that have underperformed throughout this season that I think that putting them in this spot is just something that I can't agree with.
EJ Christian.
I
actually
changed mine real quick.
Please go ahead.
A team who beat a geriatric quarterback who hadn't played a game in a full year and then lost to the Vikings, who apparently I'm too high to have them at 6. The guy who just lost to those Vikings has that team at 3. EJ having the Niners at 3 is the biggest crime on these lists.
You just said you want to pick on me. That's why.
Hard.
Okay. I get it.
Hard agree.
And you're wrong, Jim. Wrong, sir. Wrong.
Excuse me. If you might apply a President Bartlett to EJ Christian right now, Jim.
Just stand there in your wrongness and be wrong and get used to it.
I want to curse so bad.
I think it's appropriate that the biggest crime segment be wrapped up by a man who's in a security van. EJ Christian, biggest crime committed.
It's Jim's number 6 Vikings. I want to say, I mean, look, Bears offense
Which
bottom
further
5.
proves my point.
I mean, Bears. You did that on purpose. That's why to get me all flustered up now. Bears bottom 5. Look, the Bears offense bottom 5. I'll give them that. But defense has been spectacular this year. Vikings number 6 is egregious, absolutely egregious. So yeah, Jim, you are definitely a criminal for doing that.
The defense rests. Thanks for proving my point.
Actually, internal affairs called, said that that's a horrible defense, and you are in fact going to jail for making such a bad defense. That was absolutely asinine.